three friends meet. There's Ina, a fashion diva coming from Dubai. There's Louis, a winemaker from Switzerland. And Amrita, a travel writer from India. But their mission? Well, they're here to embark on a journey of a lifetime, a road trip, a self-driving road trip all the way from Kabul in Afghanistan to New Delhi in India, with two very interesting pit stops at Peshawar and Lahore in Pakistan. What am I talking about? Is this like a dream? Well, it does sound like a dream right now, but about 100 years back, this wasn't so uncommon. But guess what? Even today, I don't think it's actually as far-fetched as it might appear to be. To give you just a bit of perspective about where this crazy dream is coming from, let me take you back to my childhood days. I kind of look cute and all, but I was a kid on a move. I was born in Bihar and grew up across small villages and towns in north and west of India. As I was moving around, we would stay in a place for 2 years and just move on. So I never quite belonged to one place, but I felt I belonged wherever I went. My home moved, but for me, the home just expanded. It was around this time that a group of very inspiring doctors, Médecins Sans Frontières, won the Nobel Peace Prize. They're also known as Doctors Without Borders. They did this because of their work, their exemplary work of providing medical aid to people across the world, especially in conflict zones. Inspired by their work, an idea started germinating in my head, because they were doing this work in a world heavily divided by borders. I thought of an idea, and I started calling it, even more ambitiously, a world without borders. But I must confess, back then it was just an idea, a thought, an entry in my diary. But much later, when I started traveling the world, the meaning of my own dream became clearer to me. The world opened up to me, and I felt I belonged to the world. In my head, I was actually a world citizen already. As I was traveling, I was also curating stories and sharing them. And another interesting discovery happened for me. I'm sure I was not the first one to realize this, but I realized the power of sharing. People who were reading me, all the readers, could actually feel as connected to the people and the places I met, simply because they were reading me. I was amazed. This was magical in a way for me. As travel was breaking down all the barriers in my head, it was doing the same for them. In a way, I was making this invisible web of real people in real places, all interconnected. So last year, to give my own personal dream of a world without borders, I started a project, and I called it Tell Me Your Dream, a really simple initiative to discover the world around me through people and their dreams, every single day of the year, no matter where in the world I was. So I would go out, talk to people, random people on the streets, anybody who would be willing to talk to me or I would find interesting. Collect a story, collect a dream, and share it with the world through Instagram. So over a period of 1 year, across 6 different countries, more than 45 different cities, I collected a total of 365 dreams. Something else interesting happened as I was doing this. A lot of other people started following these stories and dreams. Dreams are so positive. They kind of bring in the positive energy when you read them. A lot of print and digital media also started supporting me in this endeavor. But my aha moment came when some of the people who were following me on Instagram actually started doing exactly what I was doing. They started exploring their own neighborhoods. They started reaching out to people in their backyard, talking to them, connecting to them, collecting stories, collecting dreams, and again sharing. What started off as a personal project for me became much bigger and took a life of its own. At a personal level for me, something transformed as well. Though the world around me didn't really change, for me it was a new world. I stopped looking at strangers as strangers. I started looking at everybody as a story, as a dream walking around. But what about all of this? How is all this helping me in realizing my big dream? So here is the cue. As it turns out, The process of collecting and sharing dreams is actually the path forward to making world without borders a reality. Let me not say this myself. Let me introduce you to some of my friends that I made last year. As you see these images and hear the stories, silently think in your head, what could be one thing, just one thing, that you think connects them all? So we have Manuel. He's an adventure sports enthusiast and an instructor at Interlaken in Switzerland. And we have Rami Sadat, a mosaic artist from a small town in Jordan. What do you think these two people have in common with Kailashnath, a Sanskrit scholar and a priest in Mathura, India, and Lee Chong-hua, a taxi driver in Singapore? And finally, Eliza. She's a beggar on the streets of Pune. Yes, they all dream. They are all dreamers in their head. But it's actually when you go down and explore their dreams, you realize there's more to it. There's something amazing to be discovered in their dreams, because they're not dreaming for themselves. They're actually dreaming for their children, all of them. They're dreaming for education. They're dreaming for their wellness, their happiness, their own dreams. Isn't that amazing, the connection that dreams build? I have a few more pictures to share, some more stories to bring out. We have Gokul. He's an auto mechanic in Pune. And we have Katrina from Greece. She's right now running one of the most popular Greek restaurants in Goa. What do you think they have in common with Sudharma, a very famous Chennai-based Bharatanatyam dancer? Yes, they also dream. In fact, they have a dream which I can personally relate to, and I'm sure many of you can as well. They dream to travel the world. If we don't look very closely, we can miss the point here. The point being that people who might appear to be completely unconnected, completely distant from each other, are in fact connected. They're connected by their dreams, their hopes, their aspirations. No matter how different they might appear to be, there's enough that unifies us all. But does it mean we are all alike? Absolutely not. In fact, you look at their stories, you'll see that they've all led a very, very unique life, a highly complex life. They all have a life story which is almost a movie-like story. But despite all the commonality, despite all the differences, there's enough commonality at a very, very human, at an emotional level that binds us all. So world without borders is a thought, a dream, a philosophy. And it's also something which cannot be achieved in a day. In fact, when I talk about a world like this, I don't talk about a uniform world. I'm talking about a world with a very uniform belief system, that of humanity. Not so much to ask for. But imagine if all the world leaders get so inspired by my talk today that they decide to amend their constitutions and bring down the borders. Do you think the world will survive? Most likely no. I recognize that as well. I realize that there has to be a process which needs to be followed. And the first step of this process is not breaking down the borders, but building something. Building connections. Making connections between people at an emotional level, at a level where most differences actually already disappear. And that's what I try to do with connecting their dreams. So what's happening with the project right now? I collected dreams last year, and I'm taking the project forward in a much more focused way. So I'm reaching out to two countries which are closest to us geographically, but actually quite far away when it comes to our hearts. So I'm reaching out to artists, photographers, people like you and me in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and connecting them with their counterparts in India. The hope is, the more we share stories, the more we share our own dreams, our aspirations, our day-to-day life, the realization will come that we are not actually so different. The differences are all superficial. Deep within, we are all very alike. And I hope with that, the barriers will go away. There's something very interesting that I thought of while I was researching on this. That was trying to visualize what would a world without borders actually look like. I'm sure you also would have thought of that right now, because I talk so much about it. So I have a cue on that. This is how the world without borders would actually look like, just like how Mother Nature created it. But let me talk a bit about the power of travel before I finish this talk. Something I discovered and something I stumbled upon as I was collecting these dreams and talking to people. So I'll share a secret with you. Next time when you travel, keep two things in mind. The very fact that you're actually traveling the world means you're privileged. So be humble about it. And second, as you travel the world, be aware that your travel experiences can actually have a much bigger impact than you can possibly imagine. So travel as much as you can, travel as far wide as you can. Break down all interior barriers, let go of all inhibitions, and go talk to people. Make bonds, make connections. Most importantly, share stories. Only when we collect and share these stories, we can all be a part of a web which connects us all. So let me invite you to join me in this journey. It's a journey of breaking the boundaries which bind us all away from what we should be, a world together. Because only when we break down these barriers and come together, we can actually be one. Thank you.